The New South Wales Government has today issued an order for 10,000 spectators to wear a face mask inside the SCG for the first day of the cricket test. And most have welcomed it with open arms. I spoke earlier today with Acting New South Wales Premier John Barilaro. I'm joined now by the Acting Premier of New South Wales, John Barilaro. Acting Premier, thanks so much for your time tonight.
Thanks for having me, Cory.
Now, I presume your role feels very full days, but have you had a chance to observe the cricket at all today?
Well, no, I decided that, as I kept telling a lot of the regional folk not to come to Sydney to watch the cricket, that it would be indulgent of me to turn up to the cricket. But I had a visit out there yesterday to have a look at the grounds and of course, the management and the COVID safe plan that we put in place to make sure that we were comfortable that we're not only having the cricket, but we're doing it in the most safest possible way in these conditions. And look, it was a good pitch, and the groundsman there was telling me how the moisture in the air was going to make the ball swing. So exciting few days of cricket ahead of us.
Well, we look forward to an Australian victory, fingers crossed. But you must have had reports about the COVID response and how it's applied to the cricket today. I mean, they've been asked to wear masks. People from particular suburbs have been prohibited from attending under a threat of a $1,000 fine. What's been the response? Have any people been fined for attending against the rules or failing to uphold the mask-wearing instructions?
Well, Cory, one of the things that I think we've done well as Australians, not just here in New South Wales, is that we've been very compliant. Government's put these rules in place for the protection of the public health and people and our citizens. And if you compare us across the globe, we're a gold standard, and that's every state, the whole nation, regardless of some of the spikes we've seen in states. And we had that rough run through Christmas at Avalon. But the reality is that people want to do the right thing. And this morning, I got an update by Transport, for instance, because we've got 450 extra services taking people out to the cricket. There was plenty of spaces, people were wearing masks. They were registering about 1,600 people there early this morning. No issues, no one really upset with what the restrictions are, because at the heart of this, people wanted to see the cricket go ahead. They didn't want New South Wales or Sydney to lose the test. Well, the test is on. The first ball has been bowled, and if it means a few restrictions and that is for the public good, I think it's the right thing. And at this stage, things are going really well.
Yeah, it's actually very interesting. People are very happy to participate and cooperate where the restrictions or the requests seem very reasonable, and I think that's been part of New South Wales' success, quite frankly. It hasn't engendered a vicious response or a reflexive response. People just say, hey, I want to do the right thing. So congratulations to you on that. May I switch tack, though, a little bit and take your mind back a year ago, and New South Wales was in a very, very different position, particularly regional New South Wales. Bushfires were out of control, and there was a great deal of damage done, lives lost and lives changed. Where are we now in response to the bushfire problems of last year and some of the measures that you started to introduce as a government?
Cory, look, I can't believe where we are 12 months on. Even my own electorate of the Monaro, bordering with the Bega electorate, that it was at the heart of a lot of the bushfires down south, where just in the Bega electorate, in the Urubdalla Shire and the Bega Shire, close to 1,000 homes actually lost and another 500 impacted. Loss of life, millions of hectares of bushland destroyed, and the impact that had on that economy in the worst period, which is, of course, the summer period for businesses. And, 12 months on, look at it, it's all green. It's been raining. We haven't had much of a summer, and we haven't got any real bushfires anywhere in New South Wales. Now, it's a reminder about how things can quickly change in the regions. 12 months ago, we're also in drought. One of the worst droughts. If you look at Warragamba Dam here in Sydney, this time last year it was running at about 43% capacity. Well, today it's running at 97.4% capacity. So it's clear that things have changed significantly, and the clean-up has been a massive task. There's no time ever in this state's history a logistical clean-up or program of supporting communities in the regions that we enjoyed over this year. And, 3,600 properties that were lost, their sites cleared, the tab was picked up by the federal and the state government. We got people back on their blocks. We got people back into accommodation. We've rebooted industry and businesses. And a lot of the work there was $4.5 billion spent on the recovery. And a lot of that money, something like 99%, went back to regional businesses and subcontractors through our partners in Langarook. So in one way, from off what was a disaster, became a stimulus. And when you think about then we had COVID-19, luck or chance, that stimulus was so important for businesses right across the board. But the regions at the moment, the restrictions are nowhere not like Sydney. Tourism is high. People are travelling overseas. People are able to get into regional New South Wales, and the stats are coming back that we have seen some fantastic results for tourism. Businesses are once again at the heart of the regions, and it's just good for the soul, mate. No bushfires, the drought is broken, and we're seeing a big lift in tourism. So it's pretty good in regional New South Wales at the moment.
Well, that's good to hear. I mean, one of the great characteristics of Australia's regional communities is their resilience, how they cooperate with each other, they work hard to support each other through very difficult times. And I'm sure the decisions of the federal and the New South Wales state government to utilise local contractors, as you pointed out, for that $4.9 billion, I think it was, of recovery expenditure has made an enormous difference. So that is the sort of practical approach we want to see from governments where they're called to step in. So congratulations to you and all involved in that space.
Look, absolutely. And I know, for instance, Scott Morrison as Prime Minister at the time during bushfires copped a bit of flack. And, I've always said it was unfair because everyone's entitled to a break. But most importantly, it's how you respond as a leader. Can I say the leadership federally and the leadership at a state level, what we did was we were always going to be judged on what the recovery was going to look like, not just how we dealt with the emergency of the crisis and the fires themselves, but it's about how you actually then support community. And both the federal and state government made it our priority. We threw more money at it than anyone had envisaged, even more than when we first started the crisis, thinking this might be $1 billion, maybe $1.5 billion. And in the end, we're getting close to $4.5–5 billion. The truth was that we put people first and communities first. And it was, I give credit to the feds, of course, the state. What we've been able to achieve under Gladys as the Premier, she has still talked through all of it, and then COVID came about. So, this is a success story in one way from the federal and state government working together in partnership with communities, business and industry. And I think that's why we've been able to achieve what is a relatively, in my mind, a good outcome. Now, look, there's always going to be a story about something that's slipped through the gaps. That's why we've consistently said, and as I'm the Minister responsible for bushfire recovery, that if anyone's out there that still hasn't had their blocks cleared, because there have been a number of people that just haven't come forward, we're keeping the program running. We'll continue to work with communities until we know everybody's back on their feet.
Well, that's really good to know, and I'm sure that the stocks of both the federal government and the New South Wales government will rise as a result of your efforts there. John Barilaro, Acting Premier of New South Wales, thank you for your time tonight.
Thank you very much, Cory.